Kia ora, hi everyone. My name is Bridget Conor, and I am a researcher and teacher based at the Department of Culture, Media and Creative Industries at King's College London. I'm delighted to be part of this webinar and really looking forward to the other contributions. Now, I thought I would produce a short video today with a few thoughts that I have on two of the kind of key questions that you're interested in for this webinar. The first, of course, is around this topic of gender equality and leadership and the importance of representation in and through the cultural and creative industries. Secondly, I wanted to highlight a few good practices for optimizing gender equality in cultural life and cultural participation. So I'll turn to that second. So the first, gender equality and leadership. There are three things that I want to say here, and quite a bit of what I'm about to say I expand on more in a report that I've recently written in collaboration with UNESCO called Gender and Creativity Progress on the Precipice. That report is going to be launched with UNESCO, I believe, next week, the beginning of June, and it's available online if you want to read more. So firstly, gender equality and leadership. Well, the first thing that I think is important here is the question of data. And I say a lot about this in the report. There is a huge amount of really valuable data that we have now from localities and communities, from regions, from nations about gender representation, what that looks like in the cultural and creative industries or in particular sectors of the CCIs, as we call it. But that data is still often limited in scope. This is one area where I really do think we need leadership and a focus on gender equality in our kind of future data gathering efforts. So that means we really need kind of leadership in collecting better data. And when I say better, I mean transparent data, open data, data that doesn't rely just on head counting, and data that's comparative, where we can really gather, a global database around, so we understand more about where we're seeing gender equality achieved and how we can move towards that. Leadership in promoting gender equality in and through the CCIs is, to me, actually quite straightforward, maybe easier said than done, but really and fundamentally, we need more people who identify as women or as gender diverse in leadership roles at all levels. Now, we could say we need them, in gatekeeping roles or, decision-making roles. But in fact, I think we could go further. We should be removing the gatekeepers and the gates altogether. And, what I think it's important for us to remember is that the cultural and creative industries are about representation itself, about who has a voice, who is allowed to speak, whose stories are told, and conversely, of course, whose are not. And this is so important. It means that the cultural and creative industries are powerful vehicles for gender equality, both in terms of the cultural workforce who makes culture, who is paid to make culture, as well as in cultural content itself. And therefore cultural producers, artists can and also should be leaders, right? Their voices should really be heard in this ongoing discussion about gender equality. Secondly, what good practices can we identify to optimize gender diversity in cultural life and participation? Well, just quickly, there are three things I thought I would highlight here. Firstly, we need to ensure that all spaces where cultural life is experienced, where we engage with culture, make culture, share culture, participate in culture, those spaces all need to be safe spaces, free of gender-based violence, harassment, and abuse. If we don't focus on safety and well-being in and through culture, gender diversity through culture is just not possible. So that's the first and a very important point. Secondly, we just simply need to ensure that support for culture through funding, policy making, training, data gathering, and so on, is always also supporting gender equality. They really should go hand in hand. And finally, it's an obvious point, but an important one to make, and I say much more about this in the report. We need to ensure that progress towards gender equality in cultural life is not eroded by the COVID-19 pandemic. I call the report Progress on the Precipice because it really is concerning at the moment, the ways in which we are seeing this progress slowly eroding. We really need to be vigilant and ensure that does not happen. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much. I really look forward to engaging with the rest of the webinar content. Take care, everyone. See you soon.